they can certainly go, and again, the opportunity might be when we go back.
Okay.
Actually, the city.
Start back in there. Password to allow screen sharing on Zoom and
The current administration would be something.
You would think so, right?
Yeah.
If I was in DC, we should pass. Making for.
Hello? So we're still waiting for a quorum, but in the interest of time, what we're gonna do is start with the presentations. We do have one of our presenters who could not make it today from Waldland Hills. However, I would like Ronson to come up. Sorry, you just took a bite. We have a couple new members that we'd like to introduce.
Yeah.
Good evening. You might have to click the button. I said. Should be green.
Good evening, everyone. Wow, this is our AV system. Thanks, David. This is great. And the TVs are amazing. Yeah, I just want to introduce two new staff members. Really lucky to have them. I'll just let you guys introduce yourselves.
Hi, good evening, board members. Recognizing a couple, so it's good to see you again. To those who I have not met, my name is Kevin Umania, the new housing project coordinator with the COG. I have an educational background in urban planning from Cal Poly Pomona. While I was in undergrad, I worked part-time for the Los Angeles City Planning Department with their citywide housing policy unit for about 2 years. Afterwards, I was working for a community development finance institution, and then now I'm here with the COG working on anything La Casa related. So happy to be of service and looking forward to meet you all properly. Thank you.
Kevin's was a superstar in college. We were at a SCAMP conference, the Affordable Housing Conference, and he knew more people there than I did. And one presenter even stopped in the middle of the presentation and to acknowledge his presence. So yeah, definitely lucky to have him.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kelly Primpoon. I am the new project coordinator for homeless services. I have a background in nonprofit work, some in real estate, entrepreneurship, stuff like that. Happy to be here, very passionate about helping the community as well as my work. Open book, open to feedback, anything like that. But yeah, just happy to be here at the COG. So it's a new beginnings.
And Kelly's she's a point guard. Are you a point guard or? Yeah, so if you need someone on your co-ed basketball team, she's probably for an ankle injury right now, but when she was better, yeah.
I broke my fibula. Wow.
Thank you so much and welcome to the team. We're still waiting for one more member. So what we'll do is go to the third quarter progress report on energy and climate recognition program. So the presenter is going to be Sean Fujioka, who is a project coordinator with the South Bay Cities Council of Governments. She works on the energy efficiency, climate, and water programs. Tonight, she will present the Q3 progress report for the third annual South Bay Energy and Climate Recognition Program.
I think everything's set up. Okay.
Is it? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, it's all good. All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Sean Fujioka. I'm a project coordinator with the COG. And yeah, I'll be presenting the city's Q3 progress in our energy and climate recognition program. Next slide, please. Okay, so as a reminder, these are the recognition levels for our program. So we start off at bronze, which is 3 to 11 activities completed. Silver is 12 to 20, and gold is 21 to 29. And our newest category for this year is platinum, which is 30 or higher activities completed. And we added this one because we knew our cities could go above and beyond and do even more in sustainability, which I will talk about a little bit later. But before then, one other thing I want to emphasize here for our different levels is that in order to be recognized at all at bronze, cities do have to complete one activity per category, meaning climate action education and engagement, as well as technical assistance. So Next slide. Okay, so with that, this is our Q3 report. So at the very top, we have Torrance, and as of this quarter, we have Manhattan Beach.
Yeah.
Alright, so congratulations to Manhattan Beach. And then we also have Gardena at gold status, and our silver cities include Carson, El Segundo, and Lomita. And then our bronze cities include Hawthorne, Hermosa Beach, Redondo Beach, Rolling Hills, and Rolling Hills Estates. But like I said before, there are still some cities that haven't hit all three categories or maybe haven't hit the 3-point cap. But there is still time to earn more points between now and the end of this program year. But cities need to move quickly because our deadline to submit activities to earn points is in November. So there is still time, but they should move fast. Next slide. And how can cities earn more points? So here are some example activities. First, promoting residential programs such as the ICF multifamily programs or the residential decarbonization program through LA County, to name a few, and the COG can present program materials to cities to share with residents as necessary. Also participating in a COG sustainability initiative, such as the West Basin water bottle refilling station or the turf replacement. Again, the COG can share information as necessary. Also, energy efficiency upgrades, completing them at cities, as well as just communicating with us throughout the process. Cities can earn points for communicating future planned sustainability upgrades, as well as actually completing them. So make sure to talk with us throughout that whole process. Also conducting an energy or climate presentation to city staff or a committee. I will actually be doing this personally on Gardena's greenhouse gas emissions inventory in October, and therefore that city will earn an additional point for me doing so. Also, last thing too, implementing any strategy from a city's approved climate action plan. These are all listed on the COG's website. These were the plans from 2017, and they each have the many different strategies listed in those documents. Next slide. Okay, so with that, one last thing I want to mention here is that elected officials and the city staff that we have been working with are all invited to our 3rd annual South Bay Energy and Climate Recognition Program award ceremony on December 11th. We will be having Rita Kompoloth, who is the Chief Sustainability Officer at LA County, as our keynote speaker. And we will be sending out a save the date in the coming weeks. So please keep an eye out in your emails for that. And next slide, yeah. So that's everything. Thank you so much for having me. And if you have any questions or corrections and updates about your city's standing in the program, please reach out to myself or my colleague Eleanor. And I'm also happy to take any questions right now.
Any questions? We're all strategizing for the point. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, we're still waiting on one more person, so we'll jump to updates. We'll start with the Environmental Services Center.
Just have to click the button, I think it's off.
We go. Hi, everybody. So just to keep the environmental theme going here, some updates for you. The LA County has come up with their draft heat action plan, and we're in the process of reviewing that and putting together some comments. I have sent it out to all of your cities and asked them if they're making comments, if they could share them with us so that we can incorporate their thoughts as well. Of course, they can submit their own directly. It's a very comprehensive plan. It looks really good. It incorporates biodiversity as well as shade, tree shading, pedestrian access shade, populations that are at risk, like elderly populations and things like that. So I think they did a really good job with the plan, but we're putting that together. Also, we have been working on our cool roof study, and they're in the process of going out to the cities and doing the site plans. So we have 15 cities that are going to get, 15 sites, not 15 cities, that we're going to be doing the feasibility plan for them. And so then the city staff can take that forward and decide if they want to go ahead and do like a cool roof on that facility. So that's underway. Also, our Civic Spark Fellows are coming. They'll be here at the first of next month. And we have one person that's going to be working in transportation, one person that's going to be doing communications, and one that's going to be working on energy efficiency. So we're very excited about that. They start, I think, the 9th of October. And so you'll meet them. We'll have to invite them to come to the board meeting. You can meet them all. And then we got some news from Edison. We have a program called Energy Star Portfolio Manager, which is an online tool that we've been using for doing benchmarking for all of our cities. And any city that has a facility that is more than 50,000 square feet, we've been actually doing the required submission to the state each year for them. And we've been just recently told that there's a cost associated with us getting the data now for Energy Star Portfolio Manager. And actually, Sean knows the number. I think we figured out would be like $10,000 or something like that. So we're trying to figure out if there's a way that we can work around this, and otherwise we might just have to have cities do the submission themselves, because the cities don't have to pay. We just have to pay as the agency that's working on behalf of the city. So we're working on that. We'll see what we can do, but it's very discouraging because that's a great tool and it feels like it's not being really supported. With having this extra cost associated with it. So we're working on that. And then the last thing to let you know is that a lot of our funding for energy efficiency comes from most of it comes from the CPUC and ratepayer funds. So that's a process that takes several years. They're getting ready to start that next cycle. So we're going to be working with LA County. They are really the lead because of through the SoCal REN, and they put together what they call the business plan. So that work is starting. The first comments that will go into the business plan will be in this February. It's very important because this funding will be earmarked for 8 years. So it won't start, I think it starts in 2028. So it'll start in 2028 and then it goes out to, into 2030 and, beyond. So we're in a current 8-year cycle. We're about halfway through, and it takes them 4 years to get through that next cycle. But anyway, just to let you know, that's really important. We'll be using our facility equipment inventory, which identified a lot of energy efficiency opportunity, and really hoping that they'll consider things like that. Like, look at all the HVACs that we have to replace that have outdated refrigerants. Look at all the, we still have lighting, we still have insulation that we need to do, especially when you're looking at the heat, the heat that's going to increase. LA County is working on the heat action plan. So all these things work together. So I'll be reporting back to you as that moves forward. I think that's it. Any questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. So we have a quorum, so we're gonna start the meeting. Well, I guess we do have a quorum, but just to reiterate. Confirming the posting of the agenda.
Yes, it's been posted.
Yes.
Perfect. So now we'll go into public comments. I do have a speaker. It's Holly Osborne.
I was going to speak on a specific event when you approved the minutes, but I'll just say it now. I read the minutes about the sea line, of course, and it said that it was going to be in October that it would go before the Metro Board downtown. And so I will go, wow. So I immediately went and watched your session and took notes. And it said it again there, and I thought, but I can't find it in the minutes, it said something about you have to wait, or if you're going to bring a CEQA action within 10 days or 30 or this or that. And so I don't remember that, and that part I can't find there, but I just want to confirm that I read accurately that it's going to be in October. And if the person who spoke didn't really mean to be taken that literally, could they fix it? And I thought, well, if I ask, I won't get an answer. So maybe one of the councilmen who are here can ask and get an answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. We'll try and get that information to you. And then we'll move it along to the consent calendar. Or sorry, I forgot any changes to the agenda.
Yes, so we didn't have one of the speakers. And then we are gonna pull item D out of the consent calendar and take that one separately.
So
Okay.
moved.
Second.
Vote.
Any opposition? No. Any abstentions?
I have to abstain on the minutes. I wasn't here.
Same here.
Any more abstentions? Okay. Okay, we'll move along to D.
Okay, so for item D, which is the update to the records retention schedule. We wanted to see if the board was okay with one minor change to the resolution language. In section 4, the first line, where it says the executive director may destroy any COG record, document, blah, blah, blah. We were thinking that it would be good to add executive director or their designee, because the way it's written, literally, it would just be Jackie sitting there shredding documents. And so, thank you to Councilmember Stigura for bringing this to our attention. I don't know that Jackie would want to be doing all of the destruction work.
Slaving over a hot shredder.
Exactly. And so, we were hoping that we could add, or designee after executive director and then adopt the resolution with that amendment.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Okay. Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you.
Did we move approval of the rest of the consent agenda yet?
Yes.
Okay, so we did the presentations earlier. So we're gonna go back to program action items as homeless services.
No action today, but just have 3 quick slides just to update you on the status of homelessness in LA County. David's gonna put up quick slides, but we're getting reports in. There's one report from the LAist on August 25th. But it sounds like the system is becoming really stressed. We're seeing families and individuals being turned away. We had one family in Hawthorne Unified who got turned away by 11 nonprofits recently. There's just a lack of shelter space, lack of subsidies, lack of case management. So there's that article. And so that's kind of what we're seeing on the ground. The reason for that is, if you go to the next slide, there has been cuts at the federal level. There's some cuts at the state level. HAP has been slow to roll out. HAP has been one of the major funding sources from the state. And then so what's been happening with Measure A funds, let's see if I can move this, is that this is a Measure A pie. This is interim housing, like where the money's going. Outreach services, coordinated entry system, that's like HMIS, the database and things like that. And then you see this red pie is permanent housing. It's not building permanent housing, it's just supporting wraparound services and people in permanent housing. So the more people we house, the more this red pie gets bigger and bigger. And it's now accounted for 42% of our Measure A funding. And so that's kind of crowding out the rest of the services. So that's partly what's happening. That's been going on for years, and we kind of anticipated this. But there's other issues too. Did I send you, David, did you, the board one, but it's okay, I'll wing it. This is the steering one.
Yeah.
But there's also like other things that I'm not fully sure of. I don't think we're properly leveraging some state programs like CalAIM in the county. And then also I wish there was more transparency on like how much funding is going to administrative and salary costs. Really haven't seen really good reporting on that from county staff. So we'd like to see more of that stuff. But I think there's just more ways we can maybe spend this money more efficiently. And then I did have a slide that was talking about as we go into this next budget cycle for Measure A, we are partnering with the other COGs, Westside COG, Gateway COG, and San Gabriel Valley COG to advocate for really three things. One is representation, just making sure that there's city and COG representation on these county level committees. The second thing is accountability. We would like the county to be more accountable to the cities, provide us with reporting, and not the other way around. And then the third thing is, more funding for city programs so that we can continue our progress on our homelessness efforts. So those are the three things we'll be advocating for in this next budget cycle. That's it.
That's a
Any
quick
question?
question.
Yeah.
So, Measure A is twice as much as Measure H was, right? So,
Yeah.
I would think that there'd be more opportunities with Measure A, not necessarily just because the pot of money is twice as much. So that's just an observation, but are we seeing more people truly not being able to get housed just because we don't have housing to put them in?
I mean, that's always been the case, right? That was why we had the homeless crisis to begin with was, it's not even that we don't have enough housing, but the housing is so expensive too, right? And so, we have a bifurcated economy of the haves and have-nots. We have people that are doing well, and then people are getting crowded out. And a lot of people are leaving the state, right? And, this is things we know. We were losing population. We lost a congressional seat in 2020, and people are saying we're probably going to lose another congressional seat in 2030. So people are leaving the state, and then the people that are left behind are the ones that are homeless or at risk of being homeless. And so that continues to happen until we build affordable housing, right, for those folks. And that's what we're working on with that new part of Measure A, the housing part of Measure A, and that's what Kevin's going to be helping me with. We're going to try to build workforce housing and affordable housing for folks in our area, whether that's teachers or, we have city staff that are at risk of homelessness. We work with many of your cities with staff that can't afford to live in our cities and are at risk. And so we just want to make sure we help everyone. And that's that part of Measure A that we'll be using for housing.
Right, because I mean, the other piece of that was, we've talked a lot about prevention, right? Making sure you don't become homeless, right? So
Yeah.
again, that goes back to using that family. Hey, if we'd known about it sooner, could we have done something to keep them housed as opposed to, oh crap, now they're unhoused and where they gotta go, right?
Yeah, I think in the next board meeting, I'll be presenting to you all some of our new programs that we'll be rolling out in October, hopefully. We're going to be rolling out our largest program ever, a $2 million prevention program. Really super excited about that. That's going to be a game changer in terms of prevention. And so that's going to be coming in mid-October.
Right, thank you.
Alex?
Can you talk about a little bit about the meeting yesterday, right? Because there is potentially that Prop A is going to have like a $66 million reduction because of the sales tax. And also the CDBG funds and the home fund that on the president's budget is eliminate CDBG funds and the home funds completely out of the budget.
Yeah, there is some talks about Measure A, the sales tax not being as robust as previous years. So they're projecting, thanks for reminding me, they're projecting that to be a shortfall. 66, it's like a 6% shortfall. It's material. And then, some of your cities, whether it's like PLHA funds or CDBG, some of that's being cut too. So it's concerning because, Hawthorne, Torrance, Redondo Beach, you guys have shelters. And there might be some fiscal cliffs that we have to mitigate. I have a game plan for it, but it's a game plan. So I'll keep it under wraps as any good football coach will do, and then reveal it to you guys when it's appropriate. But we're gonna try and mitigate some of these funding shortfalls. We do have a game plan, and hopefully it works. Yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah, because for example, like Hawthorne, if the federal government cuts the CDBG and the home fund, our housing department will basically be gone. They'll be disseminated because that's where we pay for our housing department and all the programs that we have, because it comes from the HUD, right? So
Yeah.
the federal budget is trying to eliminate all that money. So we need to call all our Congress people, make sure they don't vote on that budget. Because that will disseminate all the housing programs in the cities like water.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, because like things like Section 8, we use that not just as a voucher, but we also use it as a project voucher. So that means we use that to build housing, and that gets cut. That's going to significantly dampen our ability to build more affordable housing for folks. So that's a really good point. We definitely need to advocate for that. And yeah, and then there's also like, there's also things like the state programs that we can better access. The state has utilized Medicare, Medi-Cal as a funding source for shelters now. So that's part of my game plan. So I'll reveal that more later, but there are ways we can maybe mitigate some of these funding cuts.
Right, thank you.
Okay, great. And who's doing senior services?
Senior
I thought
services.
you were done.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Senior services. So we had a great meeting this week. Andrea Mulligan, who's not here, she's in Hawaii right now. Lucky her. She is helping me with senior services, and you might see her more on these emails planning our next meeting, which will be in December. But yeah, we had a good meeting to talk about emergency preparedness for seniors. She attended some county level meetings to just remind people about what's called like the go bags, right? And then also there's also a stay box. That was kind of a new concept, but like a box of things, to shelter in place too. So that was interesting. So we talked about that, and we talked about we had a lively discussion about caregiving and free resources for seniors who are on Medi-Cal, Medicaid to get caregiving help for those that need it. So yeah, that was our senior services report.
Any questions? Okay, thanks. Move along to the transportation reports.
Andy, did you want to do that?
Sure. Yeah, so today we had our Metro Board meeting. It was a fairly short meeting. There were about only 3 items that were not on the consent calendar. But the Measure M&R MSP, multi sub-regional program passed on the consent calendar for additional funding for the South Bay cities. Also, the Cycle 2 of the Metro Active Transportation Program. This is the program that funds bike lanes, Measure M passed through the cities passed. There were 16 projects on the list. I think about one maybe on the South Bay, a Market Street streetscape. Oh God, in Inglewood. That was on the list, and that passed as well today. Couple other updates. We are installing taller fare gates around our system. So for those of you who are on the tour of the LAX MTC at the end of July, you saw those are like 7 feet tall. They prevent piggybacking and tailgating into our system. We have found that a lot of the crime that happens in our system happens from people who are not riding the system legitimately, AKA they're sneaking onto the system. So these gates keep people out that don't have a reason to ride and cause problems. We'll be installing them at the Harbor Freeway Station in the South Bay later this year, and we're installing them at several of our stations end of line, 7th Street, Westlake MacArthur Park, some ones in Hollywood as well. We also just added some wayfinding signage to the Expo Crenshaw stop. So people are using our system to get to the airport now that the LAX MTC is open. And so when you get off at Expo Crenshaw, it just says K-Line Redondo Beach. And now you'll see an airport sign there. So that's good to get people down to the airport that way. The SoFi shuttle has been going on. We're about 3,500 fans are taking that about every game from LAX MTC. So for those of you who missed a prior presentation about that, you can take a bus directly from LAX MTC to SoFi 3 hours before the game and 90 minutes after. The straight shot down Arbor Vita. It's a free shuttle. Sheriff's Department has security on the bus, Metro security at the station itself. And we also added 4 new A-line stations opened up last Friday. So the Glendora, Laverne, Pomona North, and Laverne stations all opened up. So it's the longest light rail in the world, actually. and about 9.5 miles. There was a big party. It was hot, but a lot of fun. Yeah, those are the main updates. Obviously, the FEIR, as you know, was released on September 12th. And it is not confirmed they'll go to the board meeting in October. I'll be very clear about that. It's not confirmed they'll definitely go. That's the CEO's prerogative and the board chair, and they have not indicated one way or another. So I just want this body to be clear about that.
Do we know how long it takes to take the Metro bus from the LAX station to SoFi?
Yeah.
And does it have its own designated lane?
It does not have a designated lane. Yeah, this was brought up at a prior meeting. The Arbor Vita is 4 lanes. So if you took one lane out, it would just be 1 lane for buses. And, you know, the Lennox community is very sensitive about their parking problems and traffic during the game. So at this time, there's no dedicated lane. Metro is looking to do something called the GETS Games Enhanced Transit System for the World Cup. So we're actually sketching that out right now. That'll be how to get people to SoFi Stadium for all the games. The men's national team plays its first game on June 12th at SoFi. So that will be the game of the World Cup there.
June 12th next year.
Yeah, 2026 for FIFA. So as long as we answer your question, there is no dedicated bus lane.
Is there any idea of how they will accommodate, you know, World Cup, what is it called, Olympics, you know, crowds in a more efficient way than putting them through traffic?
Yeah, I mean, that's all being determined. We had a big summit in early September about the games and all the transit options. I can tell you it's being worked out right now. There's gonna be fan zones. I think the idea, I was told in 1984 that the idea was the Olympics are happening, maybe you should get out of town, it's gonna be crazy here. And for this Olympics coming up, the idea is stay in town. There's gonna be parties everywhere. You know, there's gonna be the Croatia house in San Pedro. I saw Culver City had something on their agenda to have the New Zealand house there. So cities are kind of targeting certain countries, I think, for their fan zone or houses.
Hawthorne is
Oh, yeah? What are you targeting?
the Cape Verde Island and Portugal and Nigerians.
We're all very impressed. There.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so yeah, the whole system is being worked on right now. And obviously, when it gets unveiled, there will be meetings and hearings about the transit system. But the general idea is that there will be pathways for athletes, pathways for fans, there will be VIP zones. You know, the Olympic Village will be at Westwood. Just getting people around will be the big thing, you know. Oh, and also on that matter, the ad hoc committee authorized a study of a water taxi to go from San Pedro to Long Beach. Janice Hahn's office suggested, they're very enthusiastic about it. And we're doing the feasibility study right now. And the idea would take people there's 18 events in Long Beach, like rowing, I think the sailing events are in San Pedro, I believe that's right. And so it's about getting fans to and from the area. So that's being worked out as a feasibility to see how it would work. And there's interest in having it be EV boats, like electric boats. So that's another big thing. So, yeah. Debbie?
Rolling Hills Estates was a beneficiary of some of that funding that was approved by the board. So thank you. The Metro Board approved 1.4 million for intersection improvements on PB Drive North and a school that has a lot of students going. So that'll help. And also approved 4.4 million for pedestrian improvements and bike lanes down Rolling Hills Road. So, and I want to give David a shout out because he really helped us get that. So thank you.
Thanks. Jennifer?
Yes, I just wanted, thank you for mentioning the water taxi. I was gonna mention it if you didn't. We're actually doing a demonstration of it next month and doing kind of a trial run from San Pedro to Long Beach and back.
Run.
Yeah, so, and I wanted to ask in terms of the buses that are being leased, I've heard that nearly 3,000 buses.
Yeah.
Is it 3,000? Now, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, these Olympic things are all being planned right now. I'm not part of the team that's doing it. I know that we need a lot of federal money to lease the buses, but we want to lease them. And just the housing of them, it's a whole getting caboodle to do all that. But I have heard that we are looking to lease 3,000 buses for the Olympics.
From other like municipalities or,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, other municipalities, so, I don't know. I'm not gonna speculate, but just around the country, find that. That'll be the main ways people will do, you won't be getting in your car and driving someplace. There'll be like a big blast radius around a lot of the facilities, you can't just drive right up to like, I don't, the Galen Center to watch gymnastics, you have to go to a place outside of that through transit and then you walk in, so. That's another big consideration when designing this, is that there's a big security perimeter around all the Olympic events.
Okay.
Carless Olympics, is it still a Carless Olympics?
That's what they've been discussing, yeah, it's still a Carlos Olympics, mobility hubs, buses and trains and, yeah, certain lanes for some certain types of users. Yeah. And by the way, the last thing I want to mention is we have, I think I mentioned before, but we have an open and slow streets grant that's open. I know Torrance has said that they're applying for this. This is a grant where you can apply to shut down your streets and for the FIFA World Cup or Olympics. And we would give you the money to do it. You would have to do the programming yourself. And so we sent an email, I've emailed every single city manager here about this program. And we presented it, sent out a couple of emails, but the idea is that you would get the money, you would shut the streets down, and then you would have to provide your own programming if you would like that. And chambers of commerce and business associations can apply as well, but they have to have a city sign on to be the co-sponsor of that.
Is there a deadline date?
October 10th. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, Nina?
Yeah.
Is it correct that that we have to already have something planned in order to even apply
No.
for it?
I don't believe so. No, I think it's an application. It's due October 10th. So that's the main thing, is to get that in. You're applying for a grant with the idea that you'll use that to close the street down. We're not expecting you to, have a program of events to close down Highland or MBB or something like that.
Right. And what's the fund matching requirement?
Well, I think the whole kit, the whole amount of money to dole out is $10 million. So, and that's for the whole county. That's not for like the South Bay.
I think it's a 30% match. Is that correct?
30%.
Yeah, it's a 30% match.
I believe I sent it to the COG. I think they sent it out.
I think we've sent it out.
Happy
Yeah.
to give you guys more information about that or have someone call you if you want as well.
And I think you sent it out to all the city staff, right? Yeah, so it's gone out to all the city staff.
Any replies?
Yeah.
Any thought of extending the water taxi to go to the other marina in the South Bay and Redondo Beach?
Well, have you heard about the peer-to-peer?
Peer-to-peer swim?
No, that's what I thought when I first heard of that too. So there's a group called Peer-to-Peer that's trying to, there's a good article about this in LA Times. They want to build a ferry service that would go, I think their first thought is Malibu to Santa Monica. And they want to have like a big ferry that will take people there and eventually go as far south as Newport Beach. So, yeah, I had a call with them, but yeah, that's what they're interested in.
Cool.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Do you dare?
All right,
Go ahead.
go ahead. I wasn't around when the metro extension discussion was right before the EIR, but I guess the COG remained neutral. Is that?
So the board decided to support the project, but stay alignment neutral. Because there was disagreement between the cities on which alignment was best. And our board doesn't want to pit cities against each other, so they, at that time, supported the project, but did not select one of the route alignment options, yeah.
So am I safe in assuming that that will be the same position moving forward, or do we want to have a discussion about?
Want some money?
But
Need some money?
I always need money.
I do believe that we'll probably have it on the transportation committee agenda in October. So that if that committee wants to make some different recommendation, they could choose to do that at that time, I think.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. That from previous years would be a pretty hot topic, so you would need to have plenty of chairs, because
Yeah.
I imagine you have
Yeah.
a lot of public present for that, just for future purposes. Okay, we'll move along to the I-405 auxiliary lane project.
Okay, so this came up at the Transportation Committee, and it's, if you all remember earlier this year, we brought an item to the board about the COG taking or not taking the lead agency role on a different 405 auxiliary lane project. That one was up along the 405 from 105 to Artesia. There was a second project that's taking place from Wilmington to Main Street in Carson. And the same issue is kind of at hand. And we don't have any lead agency that is stepping up to kind of take on that fiscally responsible agent role. And before we just keep going down the project process, Jackie felt it was important for the board to weigh in and decide, do we want to stop working on this project as it is, see it through to the next phase, et cetera, et cetera. So at the Transportation Committee, we had Metro staff there. They gave us a little update on the project. It's currently in the environmental phase. The COG previously programmed 10.4 million for the environmental and design phase of the project. Of that, Metro has spent about 3.1 million of the 4.8 that was designated for the environmental phase. So there about 35% of that's funding is remaining. The environmental document will give us more detail and a better cost estimate for what the design will cost. But at this time, we're not in the design, and the Transportation Committee voted to recommend the board tell Metro to stop work on the project today. And so the environmental document would kind of be half or 2/3 complete. We got some additional information that was put into the memo that's in your packet from Metro after the meeting. And there may be some benefit to at least seeing the project through to the end of the environmental phase. And then the board could tell Metro to either come back at that time and receive instruction to move forward into design, or to just stop work at that time. If you see the project through to the end of the EIR, that EIR is good for several years and kind of gives you something to then work from if we found somebody that would want to eventually take on the lead agency role. So there's sort of two recommendations in the memo. The formal recommendation is the one from the Transportation Committee. And then the alternate recommendation would be that the board notify Metro to finish the remaining work of the EIR. But before they move into the design phase, to come back to the COG and seek additional input at that time. I think in both situations, we would ask, staff would continue to work with Metro and Caltrans and City of Carson and others to try and identify a fiscally responsible fiscal agency. But at this time, nobody wants to be the sponsor of this project. So I think the decision before you today is, do you want to see the environmental document through and then stop work, or stop work today and have a partially completed environmental document?
David, for clarification, the alternate recommendation includes information that wasn't available when it was discussed at the Transportation Committee.
That's correct.
Okay, so that would be, let's say, the updated
Yeah,
recommendation. Based
right.
on-
We didn't have the whole memo for you at Transportation Committee. With the additional information from Metro at that meeting and subsequent to it, we put together the memo, and then there's that alternate recommendation for you now based on that new information. So it would be, it's not any additional money being programmed. This funding is already programmed to the project. So it's, do you want to spend the additional 1.7 million to finish it, or just stop it and have a incomplete document, and then Metro would go through the closeout process, and then whatever money is left would then just come back to the sub-regional pot.
For reprogramming.
And we would reallocate through the competitive call for projects process.
Or what's the additional new information that Metro shared?
The status of the project, the funding that we've spent so far. It was really just a discussion item with kind of the high level decision of, do we want to continue the work or not? We didn't have any of the detail of how much of the project was done at the Transportation Committee. So you're pretty much 2/3 of the way through the project. I believe the EIR is supposed to be finished sometime next summer, so summer of 26. I do have Metro staff on Zoom if you guys have any technical questions about the project or the status of it. But I think the big decision is, you want to see it through to the end of this phase or stop it now and close it out.
Wasn't our discussion at the Transportation Committee that this is a Caltrans project and it's being sought to be funded by the COG cities? It's not really our project.
Right.
And so we don't ever envision actually funding the construction or doing a local match for the construction. So why keep spending money on it right now?
I think that the idea behind spending the additional funds would be to then, it is then more competitive for other grants. At this point, if you don't have a completed environmental document, Metro won't bother looking for any outside funding for anything. If you had a completed environmental document, at least you have something to then work from. I think if you were to stop work today, you probably would never pick up that project and keep going. And so, I mean.
So would this be like a federal grant, I take it?
Federal or state, yeah. I mean,
It could become one.
right. The big issue is that this one's a little bit different than the Artesia project, because the Artesia project was worked on and designed before the focus on VMT and VMT reduction. So that one is literally just the auxiliary lane project. The Carson one is both the auxiliary lanes and off-street improvements, bike lanes, transit, pedestrian improvements. And so it's a more complete project. So it does stand a better chance at getting outside grants than the Artesia project does. But at the end of the day, all freeway projects that are on our to-do list or our wish list will have the same issue, because Caltrans does not want to take on the, I think, to be frank, they don't see it as deadly of enough of a project, of a freeway segment to rise to the level of, we need to do something. So I mean, I don't know, in the long run, I think there's probably an option, and there may be other projects that we could do instead, but no matter what we do, you will still have the issue of who's going to build it and be responsible for it. Our staff and the board's prior decision was, because it is Caltrans's right of way, and the 405 is not just the South Bay Freeway. I mean, it's especially the county and even beyond the county. I mean, it's a very regional infrastructure piece, that it's a little ridiculous for us to pay for the entire improvement. And so we've had a longstanding policy that will fund the environmental and design phases of freeway projects to make them competitive for outside funding. But there was never any intention of our board, at any of our boards over the years, to be the responsible agency to do all of this work.
If I hear you correctly, it's not deadly enough to get grant funding, probably compared to other freeways.
I don't think it's deadly enough for Caltrans to say, we will take up the lead agency role.
Oh, got it, okay.
Right. I think it's a competitive project, especially the Carson project is much more competitive for grants than the Artesia project is.
If we were to stop funding the environmental process now and they stop work on it and shut it down, could the COG at some later date decide to pick it back up and then kind of continue from where it is now, or all the progress will be lost?
Finish it. You have to finish it now.
Yeah,
They have a completed project, I mean, a completed report today, because things change future-wise, so.
Robert or Lourdes, is that an accurate statement? Do you think?
Yeah, we couldn't pick. This is Lourdes Christie, the manager for the
Lourdes.
project. Good afternoon.
So she's trying to talk.
It changes either way.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it does. I mean, you may have to do an update, but I'm
It's
just
gonna
saying.
change 5 years from now if there's ever money.
So how long is it good for, the report? Saying
It's a
there's
year.
Environmental
Can
reports
you
are
hear me?
3 to 5 years, and then you might need some updating, but generally probably a decade, you could have it.
It is, but they said 10 years as a transportation.
Okay.
You know, I mean, my observation at the transportation committee, and still my same observation, is we've spent 3.1 million. And if we cancel it today, we're washing that 3.1 million down the drain, right? At least if you spend the 1.7 balance, at least then you have a product that may potentially provide value, right? So it's kind of, do I just wash it down the drain, or do I have something that may have value and, you know, going forward? Is my humble
I
opinion.
agree with that.
Folks, this is Robert Machuca. I don't know if you can all hear me.
Robert, one second,
Notice never came
let
on.
me see if there's.
Can you guys hear me?
We're not
How
hearing
about
you.
now?
Can't hear you. Maybe change your microphone settings.
Can you hear me now?
Or is it something?
No.
our end.
I don't know what it would be on our end.
Can you hear me, folks?
Can you hear
Yeah,
me
we're
now?
not hearing you, Robert. Let
No.
me see.
Okay, so I'll see if I can forestall some of this. I'll make a motion for the alternate
So
recommendation.
let me ask you a question, David, before we proceed. So if we go ahead with 1.7 million, that 1.7 million is not coming from no other project. We're
It's
not-
already
okay,
identified
it's
for this
already
project.
identified. Okay,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
I
So-
second your motion.
Any other questions?
Okay, hold on.
Did we want to wait for Laura?
Bill, it was for the alternate
Correct.
recommendation?
1.7 million spent.
Okay, so this is.
Yeah, basically to finish the project.
Finish.
Yeah.
To finish the EIR.
Finish the EIR.
Yeah.
And everything else that goes with the ultimate recommendation, which we aren't the lead agency and all that kind of other stuff, right?
Then maybe Corsa can apply for the federal government, but
Okay. Okay, so I've got the motion for the alternate recommendation. Any opposition? Jackson.
Yeah.
Any other oppositions? Any abstentions?
David, I think since it's out of district, I should.
Yeah, you went for.
Okay. Okay, so the alternate recommendation passes, so we will work with Robert and Metro to see through the EIR process, and then once that's done, we'll bring it back to you all for next steps. Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
We'll move along to micro mobility programs and projects.
Okay, do you wanna? Oh, Anne, do you wanna take it at the podium?
I don't have many updates, but for our Carson to the Sea, that's our Caltrans planning grant that's studying gaps in the local travel network in Carson, Lomita, and San Pedro. We are finalizing the engagement plan with the consultant team. We will be doing some pop-up events and also ride and drive experiences. Our gap analysis is underway and we will be coming to the transportation committee. The consultant team will introduce the project at our November 3rd meeting. We will be attending the Prepared Peninsula Expo. Is that in October, Jake? Yes. We'll be bringing our e-bike safety resources to that event. We attended last year as well. And then we have heard from SS4A, or Safe Streets for All grant. It is likely that our contract will be executed in October, so we're very excited. It's been a long time coming. We got the award last year, and it's taken over a year to execute the award agreement with, the shifts in the federal government. And then Jake and I will be making a presentation at the steering committee next month on the local travel network, zooming out and taking that sub-regional look at what a interconnected micromobility network should look like. And that's it for me.
How much was the SS4A grant?
$400,000.
Okay, thank you.
I have a quick question. The San Pedro component that you mentioned, what does that entail?
I wish I had my map, but most of the gaps are in Carson. So we're planning the local travel network in the communities of Carson, Lomita, but we have some gaps where it is unsafe for a low-speed vehicle, like a bike, to travel from one community to another. And so there's no real good way to connect from San Pedro to Lomita Harbor City area. The most likely candidate is Western Avenue, and we all know that's a very fast moving street. So we have a consultant team looking at solutions along that corridor to accommodate slower vehicles.
Okay, thank you so much. We're gonna move along to REAP 2 updates.
Jake's gonna do this.
Good evening, everyone. So the two REAP projects that I've been working on are commercial redevelopment and our mobility hubs. To start with our commercial redevelopment, we have finished meeting with all of the participating cities. Each city was offered the chance to identify 2 sites within their jurisdiction that they would like analyze for a fit and feasibility study. Those studies have now commenced now that all the sites have been identified. Additionally, the consultant team has produced their beta version of the underutilized site inventory. This is a GIS layer that spans the entire South Bay, not just the participating cities, and has a multitude of layers you can filter between to determine what type of underutilized sites you might want to look at within your city for redevelopment. That is the deliverable of this project that will be available to all cities and can help meet your RENA allocations to look at some sites. For mobility hubs, we have kicked off the project with the consultant team, which is led by Farron Pierce. They've also partnered with Studio 111, who coincidentally is also the head of our commercial redevelopment team. So there's some good synergies there. And they've also partnered with a group called Transito. This is a firm that specializes in the operations of Mobility Hub. So they have practical firsthand experience into what the day-to-day management of these centers look like. They manage a number of mobility hubs within the LA area, with one notable one being the Block in downtown, which has had a lot of interesting press about it, and people seem to have received it well. Yeah, so we will likely be, the first step of mobility hubs is an origin destination analysis, looking at where people in your cities are traveling to, how they're getting there, so we can determine ideal site locations for that. And then later, we will be engaging you when it comes to community outreach. That might include inviting you to a site visit and walking the site with us to get your firsthand insights into what you think your community in terms of amenities and services provided would like to see at these sites. So just keep your eyes out for an email from me, and I'll probably be here next month with further updates. Thank you.
Quick question, David. What are the cities? Can you mention them?
Pardon me?
Sites
For mobility hubs or commercial redevelopment?
commercial redevelopment.
They are Torrance, Hawthorne, and Carson are the 3 participating cities. Between the 2 of them, there are 6 identified sites. However, using the underutilized site inventory, that GIS map I talked about, the COG is also going to determine 7 sites across the broader South Bay for analysis.
Thank you.
Of course. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're gonna move along to the Housing Trust Feasibility Study.
Sure. So we will be having the consultant back to the board next month, actually, in October, for a presentation on the strategic plan. It's pretty much wrapped up at this point. After the presentation to the board, he will present to the city managers group in November. And then we will bring a recommendation to potentially form the trust to the November COG board meeting. So you'll have the opportunity between October and November's meeting to coordinate with your staff, ask questions, work with us if you have any other questions, so that we can hopefully have an informed and discussion at the November COG board meeting. If it is a recommendation to move forward with formation, at the beginning of 2026, we will work with your individual city councils to come out and make presentations on the trust, what it would mean, all of the details of forming the organization. And then the current JPA language is if there are 4 or more cities that join, the trust would be formed, and then we would move forward with all of the programs and details from there. There'd be a whole new board to select, all of that kind of work to do. We may choose, Jackie was thinking that if there is a formation, that we would potentially just form the organization first, particularly as Ronson rolls out his first tranche of the Measure A housing funding through La Casa. See how that goes so that the housing trust is not incurring a lot of administrative costs outside of the minimally required board meeting and that kind of thing, which is pretty minimal administrative costs, instead of bringing on legal counsel and all the other stuff that goes into operating a trust. See how the first call for projects goes and then kind of move forward from there. And so I think all of these details will be presented to you by Adam and the consulting team in October. If you have questions or your staff has questions in the meantime, please feel free to send them over to me. I'll work with Adam and we'll either get them over to you ahead of the October meeting or make sure that he touches on them in October.
Okay, any questions?
I have.
Alex?
Hey, can you, a little bit, have you guys start talking about how much each city would pay like a fee to get into this trust?
It's been discussed. We don't have any decisions yet. That'll be part of the strategic plan presentation next month. There's different ways of doing it. Part of forming the trust as the kind of the shell organization, you'd be able to establish the organization, but because you don't have any administrative costs, you wouldn't really need to start collecting dues right away. So that's one option. But he does have kind of a budget that's based on different assumptions of cities, number of cities joining, structures based on like small, medium, large size cities, that kind of stuff. It's not cheap to run a new organization. And so that's why I think Jackie's initial thoughts were it might be more fiscally prudent to form the organization, but hold off on doing any of the really heavy lifting work until we have a new board that can then kind of decide its own fate. Because right now, you all would be making a recommendation to your cities to join, but it's not necessarily this board. The COG board is not the board that would run the trust. So
that being said, let's see where I was going with this. You know, you talked about the Measure A funding, right? And we recognize a lot of that Measure A funding may, you know, let's say go to the trust or whatever, go through the trust or whatnot, right? But I guess I'd ask the question, you know, forming the trust in and of itself doesn't really cost us anything, like you said, right? It's just a administrative fee, almost like fill out the paperwork. So I've got this entity, but I'm not a actively engaged entity, if you will, which I think is okay, makes sense. But then with that being said, do we wait and say, okay, let's see how this Measure A funding goes and everything else before we, you know, maybe it's November, but we don't, you know, pull the trigger, whatever the right terminology is, till down the road to say, let's go. Because again, I understand, you know, all our cities are going to go, wait, I'm going to make an obligation for this, but I don't know what the benefit is yet. So
I think that's part of
Right.
the thought process and discussion. When our organization started working on the trust, 2018, 19, whenever it was, the state was flush with money and was giving out money left and right to housing trusts. San Gabriel Valley, I think, has gotten $60+ million in earmarks from the state. But they got all of those when the state had money. And so it might be smart to kind of hold off on doing any of this heavy programming work until the state's in a little bit better of a financial standpoint. We had a different administration federally, so you might have had better luck getting federal earmarks back then. So the outside conditions have changed a lot since we started all of this work many, many years ago. And so I think that's all kind of on your plate for next month and in November.
Craig? And then I'll go to
So
you, Ron.
once we create the shell, how many votes are needed to actually activate and then start assessing the cities, the various fees?
So the draft JPA language right now requires 4 cities saying, yes, we want to do this.
To activate it.
To activate it, yes. Technically speaking, a JPA is 2 or more. And so if you wanted to amend the draft JPA language to change that minimum, I don't think there's anything would preclude you from doing that. But there's a point where does it make sense to have the COG or involved in a process if it's just two cities doing it. We're great at coordinating multiple jurisdictions. Do you really need us to coordinate two? So I think that was the city manager's thought process behind 4, was that's that kind of level where the COG's input and assistance made sense.
And could you opt out or as a city, or does everybody have to?
No, it's any of the cities in the South Bay. And so no city's obligated to participate from the beginning. It's always an opt-in, and there is exit language in the JPA document itself on how to exit the organization if you joined and didn't want to do it anymore.
David, when that vote comes up before this board to whether to form a housing trust, that's just by simple majority, right?
Correct. And it's not to form the trust, it's to recommend the cities form the trust. Yeah.
Ronson?
Yeah, I just want to add to Bill's question. There's some things that the trust can do that the COG can't. So of our Measure A funds, one of the things we can't do as a COG is we can't go out and intervene in the private market, housing market, whether it's buying an apartment unit or master leasing or anything like that. So having a trust gives us some more flexibility in that regard. Just something to think about. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we'll look forward to seeing that come out. We'll move along to the South Bay Fiber Network. Jake?
Hi again. So no major updates with the South Bay Fiber Network. ADF, American Dark Fiber, has closed out work in Hawthorne. And they still maintain the ownership and operating responsibilities of the network. Race Communications, who is the internet service provider, however, their business plan is being focused on Northern California, and so they have expressed interest in leaving the region. We have begun interviewing different ISPs. These are the people who send the internet through the cables. One is TechWorks, which is a local South Bay ISP. They have a history of running networks within the LA area. And another is Next Level Communications, who primarily works more up in Northern California, but they do have a promising proposal and we are quite attracted by it. Both, you'll be happy to hear, came in and said that they would actually be interested in lowering prices. So that is a plus, and we'll keep you updated. Any questions? Yes.
Still accepting proposals?
Yes, the two ISPs that we have spoken with, it wasn't a formal RFP process. Our ADF, American Dark Fiber, our operator, connected us with them. But if you have anyone, we would love any more to speak with them and talk about opportunities. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, move along to the AI working group. There's an attachment in your agenda.
Yep, there's a save date in the agenda packet. We will be holding the meeting October 30th, both here at the office and virtually. It's open to all of our cities, staff, electeds, all departments. This first one's kind of going to be a what's everybody doing currently conversation. Hawthorne's expressed interest in sharing what they're doing. I know Gardina's got a lot going on also. So if any of your cities have started to implement AI, I think Rancho Palos Verdes actually has some stuff on the agenda side, the back end. And so we want to look at how are your front-facing uses, so chat bots, things like that on your website, or on the back end just to help you be more efficient or get things done easier, better, whatever. And we want both positive and negative experiences if you've been doing it long enough to have kind of some feedback there. And then what are the kind of the focus areas that you might want to see in future series? So this is kind of a sort of an agenda setting for however many of these we ultimately do. I don't think there's a schedule to them yet. We'll schedule them as we go. But the first one will be October 30th, 3:30 to 5. I think we've gotten like 30 or 35 RSVPs already, so it'll be hopefully a good meeting, and just be ready to share. And I do have the flyer electronically. If you want me to resend it to you, just let me know. I've sent it out to your city managers, I think to the board, all of our working groups. So it's gone wide, but please feel free to spread it along to anybody in your cities that might be interested.
Okay, thank you. We'll move along to General Assembly.
You want to start?
Sure. So as you all know, the board selected a title and theme last month and the month before. To let the games begin, how sports and entertainment are shaping the South Bay. It's I know the general theme. I always forget the specifics, but that's it. We will be focusing on not just what's going on in Inglewood and Chargers and all of that kind of stuff, but just broader, what's going on in, I mean, San Pedro's got a new amphitheater that's being planned, and there's just a bigger entertainment and sports renaissance in the South Bay. And so we want to look at how's that impacting the South Bay economically, transportation, quality of life, positive and negative. I mean, what are the long-term impacts of this, short-term jobs and all that kind of stuff. And so because it's a different theme and kind of a special theme, I think this year, we were looking to see if maybe some of the venues in Inglewood might be an option for us to hold the event at. I think SoFi and the stadiums are far too large for us. I think we might get more crowd than we normally do. We average 350, 400. I don't think we'll get the tens of thousands that we would need to fill up either of the stadiums. But we looked at COSM in Inglewood. Thank you, Ray, for that connection. And that one seemed like a potential. There's a couple more we're going to look at, and so we'll keep you all posted on that. I think we'll have probably a recommendation in the next couple meetings, I would think, on that.
And in any of those venues, it would be a different kind of
Right.
event than what you're used to. So we'd probably do just like a few speakers, especially if we were at COSM. They have the, display area. So we want to think about, well, what does that look like? They have footage. They have footage already, like packaged footage that we might be able to use that could work off of our theme. So, but I think we can be creative with it, and it's a beautiful location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's important to pick a site first, because it would then impact the program.
A lot.
We might not have that traditional series of panels like we normally do at COSM. Might have one or two big speakers or something like that. So you need one of these dominoes to fall so that we can start doing everything else. But I think it sounds like an exciting topic, and I know Kim reached out to
Yeah,
the
so
chambers.
one of the other things what we were thinking about is that we're going to have a lot of influx of tourism into the area, right, with all these events. And so I was wondering, and I wanted to get some feedback from the city staff and some of the chambers. What would it look like if this General Assembly kind of launched, what can you do in the South Bay when you're here? And, we have our beaches, we have, lots of different things. We have museums, we have, paths, we have the conservancies. Like, what about all these other things that we're doing? And could we somehow package that so then we give the cities a product, right? Afterwards, they can add on to it, but then it's available. It becomes sort of like this, our own sort of tourist bureau, right? What can you do here while you're here? And so we got a lot of good feedback. Barry Wade also gave us some information. We used to have like a GIS tool that had things to do in the South Bay. So maybe we can work with our GIS staff and we could build some things. I don't know that all of that would actually be part of the program itself, but these could be things that would then come from the program. And so it seems like a good idea. We'll see what the city staff think. Torrance responded. Torrance is not here tonight, and then Torrance Chamber, and then El Segundo staff also got back to us. So I think is that it we have for General Assembly?
I think so.
If we did one of these other venues, it is a cost. There's a bit of a cost. So we probably would have to look at our sponsorship a little bit differently, and we might we probably also would have to cut down on the actual number of exhibits. So maybe we would propose like increasing the cost for like an exhibit if you were going to actually be there. So we'll have to see how all of that goes, but I think we could do it. I think it'd be fun.
I think the different theme kind of opens up to new sponsors that might not have been accessible to us before. And so there's a lot of potential, but March will be here quickly, and so we
Yeah, we
want
have
to
to get
get,
on it.
yeah, we want to get started on the details of everything, so.
Yeah.
I think it's timely, right? I mean, given everything that's coming up with the games and everything else, yeah, I think it's timely and,
Any questions or
Don't forget
feedback?
that the 27 is a Super Bowl. at
I
the
know,
same
that's
time,
true.
Yeah.
So
We
it's
gotta
not
get
just
going on
the
this thing.
World Cup and the Olympics, but we have the All-Star games coming, the Super Bowl.
Also,
so
Gundo's gonna be hosting
It's
the
gonna be.
World Series of
Yeah.
esports or something like
Yeah.
that, and so.
One thing after another.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll move along to other. Was there anything for other?
Nope, we have nothing under other.
Okay, nothing for other. So we're gonna move along. There are some upcoming events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have, and you'll see in your packet, we have the flyer for the fall mixer, right? Is that this fall mixer?
Yes,
yeah.
that's the one that's, it's being organized by the, South Bay Association of Chambers. But they wanted to, put our logo on it, and so the steering committee gave the green light for that. All of the details are on the flyer for that.
That's
event.
page 113. And then we don't have the legislative briefing flyer in here, but I think.
No, we
that
don't have a flyer for that, but it's.
The notice went out.
Yeah, October 16th.
Mhm.
Yes.
And then on October 22nd, we had this orientation for city staff at an earlier in the year. And it was really successful. And what we do is we just invite the city staff to come and learn about what the COG does. And I think what was really helpful about that is because a lot of our individual programs are a little bit siloed, right, with the city staff that they're working on. And this was an opportunity for different staff disciplines, right, to hear other things. And so I'm always looking for opportunities to leverage programs and funding and, make things more efficient. And I think it turned out really good. And so we decided to do a second one. I think at first we wanted to do just new city staff. I said, you know what? I really need new city staff to know exactly what we're doing so we can just keep moving things forward. And, but we decided to open it up to anybody that would like to come. So that's on October 22nd, and that will be here. And then just also, we're working on our open house. It's not listed here, but we'll be doing the open house in November, the same day as the board meeting in November, which is the 22nd.
I think it's the 20th.
The
Week
20th.
before Thanksgiving.
And also we'll be doing the open house, the board meeting, and the volunteer reception will all be that same day. So we're gonna talk about efficiency, right? We're just gonna get it done. Just gonna get it done. So I think that's all I have on this.
We will be participating at the South Bay Transit Summit at Torrance Transit Center on October 4th. Yeah, Saturday the 4th. There'll be Metro representatives, South Bay Bicycle Coalition. We participated last year and it was a good event. And so feel free to check it out. It's free, open to the public. You'll be able to get updates on Metro projects and everything. And so I think it starts at 10 a.m. We'll post the flyer on our website after the meeting. So
That's right. Okay, we exhausted the agenda, so we are adjourning. Have a great evening.
Entertainment. Sports and Entertainment Commission like that.
Sort of, Jackie. Something, she got something for the cause.
I did, they aren't in my, because I did meet someone from there, either here or in some. Yeah, my mind also.
We met with the governor's office today and it was very.
I heard, yeah.
Made it sound like. They've been very tight-lipped. About the impression the governor wasn't necessarily going to be signing.
Not a slam dunk. That would be nice.
Jack, Sounds like he's been.
Yeah, I mean, he did a few signing ceremonies, so still making that big of an ass, so.
Brought it up. You know, Jake, right now.
They